this session was brought to you by, no, we really, really appreciate their sponsors because it couldn't happen without
That's
them.
correct,
So,
yes.
Let me find Francois here.
If not, no worries. I'm one of those guys that don't say anything. People don't know who I am.
Sherman Kahn, of course, he's the main sponsor, and then Fourth Cinema, which is Andrew Ritchie.
Yes, Fourth Cinema, thank you so much.
Yeah. So, this is Francois, and he graciously stepped in when another speaker had to cancel. And it was named Brian Posier, and recently he posted on Facebook, you're going to love this, he posted on Facebook, he said, keep going because you don't want to quit right before the miracle. Don't you love that?
That's good.
Okay. And Francois has been on his own journey, and he'll tell you more about that because it's a great story. He lived out of his car for a while. And here he is.
Yeah.
Anyway. And I first met him at some short film screenings at Mexique Arte.
Yes.
And this is the first time we met, actually.
Yeah, that's right. We've seen each other and we've kind of intermingled.
But the reason Brian had to cancel is he was chosen to direct a pilot for Comedy Central. I know that's a really bad excuse, but you know, we gave him a pass. I was just delighted that happened. So
Brian's a good guy. He's a good guy, I know.
So I said, next year, Brian, I turn it over to you, Francois.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Sonny. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming here today and trying to learn some things on screenwriting and directing. I think that's what I'm talking about today. One of the things is that I don't like to talk about myself too much, but I have to today. So I'm the best. I think this last magazine, Italian magazine, that did an article on me was called "The Best Kept Secret in Austin, Texas." It's because people don't know what I do unless you're in the industry, and I just like it that way. So let me just say, I have a company called Starfield Productions. It's based out of Austin, Texas. I've had it for about going on 9 years now. It was, I'll tell you where I'm at right now, and then I'll tell you how it started. So I'm going to talk about both combined together, the directing and the screenwriting together. One of the things I just did was at the Austin Film Festival, and I sat there and I was listening to producers from LA. And, I got comped the producer's badge because I know people. It's a good thing. The next thing was that I wanted to get something out of that festival. I didn't just want to sit down and hear about what this guy knows, from Legendary Pictures, or I worked with Mark Wahlberg. I wanted to get something for me that I could take and use on my own. I've been in this business going on 9.5 years, somewhere in that area. And the thing was, I went to a roundtable meeting, and I sat down, and they kept moving, producers from table to table, and I sat there. The first one was pretty good. He talked about some things, and I thought it was all right. The second guy was really just fantastic in the things that he did. And then the thing that I got from that whole conference was, he kind of pulled me to the side and he said, Francois, you need to work on your time management, and then you need to really, I've been asked to move to LA twice. I do work in LA, but I love it here in Austin because this is my crew. I got the resources. I can pick up a phone and they'll be there for me. And also, when you get into the business side of where I'm at, that's union. This is a right-to-work state. And so union, coming from an Italian mom, it's a different ballgame over there. Those guys take breaks every so often. You can't shoot, you can't do anything. Hi, come on in. Okay, so my company, Starfield Productions, I started out working for my background is not in film. I never started in film. I took theater and drama because I had to. It was an elective in school. So I remember sitting down and I was doing theater. I was brought up with the classics of Gilbert and Sullivan. I think I did one Shakespeare play, and then I think I did like some musicals. And I remember sitting down, writing some homework, and they were talking, the people in theater were talking about where they wanted to be. I'm going to be in New York, I'm going to be in LA, and then they said, Francois, where are you going to be? And I said, well, I'm not going to be doing this, that's for sure. And then this is what I'm doing. This is kind of what I'm doing. I was working, my background is psychology. I worked in psychology. I got a degree there at Tech. I went to, from there I had to go to, if you commit a crime in the state of Texas, you go to Rusk Mental Institution, and I was in charge of updating their caseloads. So from paper archive to computers. So I thought, what a frickin' waste of time this is. Thousands of records. I mean, I'm going through all these records. And then I realized, hey, gosh, human behavior is really fucked up. It's crazy. When I went to my Texas Tech, they asked me, Francois, what do you want to get your degree in? And I said, I thought about meteorology and I thought about psychology. And I said, I think I could predict human behavior more than I could the Texas weather. And I can't predict anything. I can't. So one of the things was that I remember sitting in this basement, reading all this idiosyncrasies of the human behavior. And, I thought, wow, this is amazing. It's sick. But, I thought, well, I'm just going to do this and, just leave it alone. And then years later, I graduated and I moved to Austin, Texas, I think in the early 90s. I moved here in the 90s and I had a friend in the Texas Film Commission and he said, hey, Francois, are you still acting? And I said, man, I ain't got time for that. He goes, there's this movie called The Rookie. You should really get on. I know the casting people. And I said, dude, I ain't got time for that. I really don't. So, I let it go. And then finally, he called me back a couple of months later and said, Francois, he goes, how's your Spanish? I said, it's un poquito bueno. Yo puedo hablar un poquito. I can speak some Spanish, to get by. And he said, I know the casting director. There's this film called The Alamo. They're remaking The Alamo. You should go down there and check it out. And I said, well, he goes, I know all you got to do is just go down there. I can get you hooked up. So I went down there and I checked it out because I remember The Alamo since I was a kid. And so I went and sure enough, I got casted in that. Not only did I get casted, I also got to say a one line. And so here you go. Usually to do a one-liner, if y'all are actors, you have to have an agent. You can't just, the odds of you getting a one-line is very slim, unless you've got an agent. But this time, it does happen. I've seen it happen on Friday Night Lights. So this time I learned my line, it was 10,000 men, 10,000 men. I remember practicing that forever. But when I first went in, that wasn't the role that I got. I was a Mexican officer, so I remember growing my beard, and they said, my hair, they said, don't cut it for 3 months, because they were getting pre-production ready, and it took a long time to get this ready. So when it came time to go back into the room to look at what I looked like, they had decided to go with another actor. And I was so upset that I went home and I shaved off my beard. And then I was getting ready to cut my hair, and they called me back and said, Francois, we've got this role for you as a U.S. Senator. So I said, oh my gosh, I just shaved my beard off. He says, don't worry, we'll have makeup, put lamb chops on you, we'll pigtail your hair, we'll put a wig. So I said, okay. And so that's when I got the role of that 10,000 men. So when the time came to it, they put the mark, they said, Francois Larosa, and I came and I stepped on my mark, and there was another mark who I was supposed to kind of like, what the fuck, 10,000 men? Well, the guy that was from here to the chair was Dennis Quaid. So, he was drunk, and he's a method actor, and so he was an asshole on the set, completely, except that if you were a producer, he would change him back in the camera. But the thing is that when I was there screaming at him, I thought, hey, this is cool, man. This is cool. Okay. It did get cut off the set. In fact, when they filmed it, it was 5 hours long. It was Disney's film, so they cut 2 hours out. So they cut so many parts out. And then they said the ending was too violent. So they had to go back into the editing room and make it because it's digital. But while I was there, I got to meet some pretty cool people. So Billy Bob Thornton was on the set, always bumming cigarettes. So if you had cigarettes, he was your friend. The interesting part is I was sitting down, and there's this old man next to me, and he looked like he could have used an O2 tank, to breathe. But he was there, and I talked with him, and I said, hey, do you do this a lot? And he goes, well, only if my son allows me to. And I said, oh, so he's got to bring you, and he's got to that's transportation. I said, I understand. And he goes, no, he works on the film. And I said, oh, that's great. Father, son, that's great. I said, what does he do? He says, well, he's the executive producer. I said, well, what's his name? He says, Ron Howard. So that was Ron Howard's dad. So you just never know who you're going to meet when you're on the set. Well, through these years in acting, I learned what everybody did on the set, what a grip was, boom mic operator, lighting. As through all these years when I was acting, I learned exactly what everybody's role was. And I looked at what they were using. And then in my mind, I thought, well, they have a four grand dolly. I think I can make one out of PVC pipe, I think I could, because I had that kind of mentality of I think Robert Rodriguez used his dolly was a wheelchair. I think that's what it was. So I learned, behind the scenes of what the crew did. So with that said, I went to, one day, I got recruited from social work to go to a think tank, and I was doing a corporate job now while I was acting. So from that think tank, I was looking at some films. I ran into YouTube, and they had some short films, and I was looking at that. And finally, one of my actors, who's well known now, I went with him when he was just starting to go pick up a short film, to pick it up because he got a copy. And so I heard him arguing in there that this short film sold for $4 grand. The director was arguing that he sold this film for $4,000. So he brought it back, and I said, are you all right? He said, yeah, he's upset. He only sold it for $4 grand. I said, 4,000? Oh my gosh, that's great. So we went to go look at it, and when I saw it, I thought, bing, I could do that. I could do that. So what I did was I went home, and I wrote some ways, to get paid to do film. I wrote a thing that says, how to get paid to do film. What do I need to do? So here I was in a corporate agency, trying to think tank for these non-profit organizations to kind of bring them up and market them. And then in my brain, I thought, man, they got a great website. This was in 2008, so they got a great website. But you know what would be even better is if they had a podcast film on their programs. So I thought, yeah, I'm going to market that. So I went to every nonprofit organization, pitching to them, which I didn't know what pitching was, but it's just selling them what your concept was. So I started to learn the art of pitching, which I didn't have. But I learned it. The first one said no. The second one said no. The third one said, we want it, but we don't have no money. So I skipped over to that one, kept going to, and I could have taken that, but I just wanted to keep going all the way down till it was finished to see. I told them that I would get back to them. I always kept it open-ended. Don't say no, just say, let me chew on it a little bit. I'll come back to you, and we'll definitely revisit it. Until one company decided that, hey, that's a great idea. But each time I got rejected, I got my pitch down better. You know what I'm saying? I narrowed it down. I knew what I was talking about. I knew how that I could help them. So through rejection came success. So you have to understand that in this industry, it's not just, you're going to graduate from school and I'm going to be a filmmaker and success. It doesn't stop there. I mean, you got to market yourself. And, one of the key things is in this industry, rejection is part of the package in this field. So you have to be able to have, not take it personal. I think that's the key thing. Don't take it personal. You have to know that things aren't sometimes going to work out. It's not a good fit. timing's off. So, I found this company. I talked to them about it. I had my pitch down, and this is what I said. I said, you've got a great website. You've got a great company. I said, I can make it even better with visual podcasts on your website. And they said, well, Francois, that sounds really innovative. Tell me how. And I said, let me go check out your program. Let me videotape it, and then talk about what it offers, and it would definitely help you in future marketing, future recruiting for students, and also those board members that never come to the program. And they said, you know what, I think we're going to go for it. I said, well, he asked me, what's your price on it? I said, well, you'll have a marketing department. What do you usually pay your videographers? They had a marketing, but they didn't have anybody to videotape anything. They didn't have that. They just had marketing with website, emails, stuff like that. So they said, well, we usually start out at $5,000. I said, that's just happens to be my price. It's amazing. Everything's falling into place. So $5,000 for me to do a commercial for these guys. That was big time for me. So for the first time out, this is the first time out. So what did I do? I had a simple JVC handheld camcorder, beta tape, with a boom mic hooked up to it like this. So I shot it, I did sound, I casted for it, the locations were already there. So and then the only thing I didn't have was an editor. So I had to outsource my editor that I did a featured film for, and I allotted him some of the money, so then that way I could still come out with a profit and he'd be happy with it. So sure enough, I did it and I sold it. Man, I was like on cloud 9. Bam! From the corporate job. I got laid off. They downsized, and so I had severance pay, which, you know what, that's fine. I'm going to start my company, Starfield Productions, from here on out. I said, I'm just going to go full blast on it and use my severance pay to just go forward to pay actors and I was developing most people when you start out in this field, they'll say start small, do a short film, 2 minute, kind of develop your story, kind of go with that. What did I do? I did a featured film because I just believed that this film concept that I had in my mind, that I could do it. It took me about 3 months to do the first draft, and then I went through 7 drafts. So I rewrote it and slimmed it down a little bit, to make it more of the film that I really wanted. So I did that, and then I did a storyboard. And so in my apartment, I had a room. This is too big, but I had my whole living room covered with, it was a 1-bedroom, I had it covered with a storyboard in small cells. So I did it, because I felt like when I got on the set and I wanted to do this and I was financing this, that I wanted to know exactly what I was doing, the angles of the shot, how I imagined it. And so I broke it down. And that took a lot of work because I'm not that great of an artist, but I kind of, worked it out and I did it. And then I had this well-known actor now, I had him come over. He came over and he saw the house and he saw the apartment and he goes, man, are you all right? I said, yeah, man. I said, look, this is my featured film and this is you down here. This is you right here. And he just started laughing. And he goes, I'll do whatever you need me to do, Francois. I said, that's okay, man. I said, it's all right if you're laughing. I said, but, I said, I need you to commit to this. And he said, I will. So it wasn't, but 3.5 months later, we were out in Wimberley, Texas, shooting his scene. And so he says, I'll never doubt you again. And so to that day, he's never doubted me ever again. So, and I paid him too. So we shot, it took me 3 months to shoot my featured film. It was shot in 5 cities. And I had probably a combination of 35 actors and crew. I had a small crew. This time I didn't shoot it. I got I think back then we had an Canon XL2 HD. That was a good camera back then in 2008. It was a good camera back then. We didn't have the DSLRs at that time. They were still tape, and it's a process. But we shot it, got it, edited. It was edited 3 times. I hated the first edit. I hated the second edit. The third edit, took a while. There was something missing file. It was a headache. At that time, I was trying to do other projects for some other people. But as the money dwindled down, so did my, I couldn't, I was having a rough time there financially. So I just believed in the film. I really did. But I want you to write this down, because sometimes passion, for what you believe in, passion sometimes supersedes reality. Passion sometimes supersedes reality. What does that mean? Well, I just believed it so much that I ended up living out of my truck for a half a year. It was hard times. It was so hard, I don't wish anybody to go through that type of thing. But the thing is that taught me more than anything. I think somebody mentioned, Alvaro mentioned, the Neil Young, thing was that he learned so much being in the ditch than he was on that one-hit wonder. Well, unless you go through it, you don't know it. But because that was a lesson that they didn't teach me at school, my parents didn't talk to me about. There's no manual for this type of stuff. But I really believed that Starfield Productions, I just believed in my company, and I believed that I could do it. Okay, I didn't even go to film school. Now you have to understand, I didn't know all the terminology, the writing. I just wrote what I saw, because I think he mentioned also that we're all filmmakers to some sense. I think he mentioned that too. And so yeah, it was hard times. It was really hard. And at the same time, I was getting small jobs here and there. Finally, I got a job where I could move from my truck, and I bought a sailboat. So I was living off of Lake Travis Marina. So I bought a 25-footer Catalina, and I bought a 13-inch TV that I really had to kind of like bend down to see it, and but it was such a great environment that I started writing more, and so I got another job. I went back to social work, which I hated. So I went back to it. I did that for a little bit, and I started getting my stuff back together again. But I was still writing. So what happened was I was writing stuff for other people, other directors, and pitching it to them. And finally, one said, "Hey, this is a really good script. Let me do that." Okay. How many of y'all are learning the craft of screenwriting right now? How many of y'all are doing that? Okay. Okay. One of the things is that the thing is that there's a thing called the Screenwriter's Bible. Y'all have that. The Screenwriter's Bible is a good reference book to have. I hardly used it, but I had it. I hardly used it, but I did have it, and it's a good reference book to go through and just kind of peruse it and look at it. Another thing that I want to encourage you to do if you're a screenwriter is to go out and, you're having to do this in class. I don't know, some of y'all may be out of class, already graduated, but what I want to share with you is that, like here in Austin, Texas, it's called the Austin Screenwriters Guild. The Austin Screenwriters Guild is top-notch, screenwriters that come from all over the place, and they gather and they read each other's scripts, and then they make comments on it. It's a little grueling, but it helps, hone in on the script even better. I don't know if we got some people from Salida? So forgive me. Salida? We've got some other people from someplace else, but seek out a screenwriters guild. If there's not one, make one. Do it. Have them pay, monthly fees or quarterly fees to get together and just kind of brainstorm stuff like this, because you need that. As for me, I didn't have anybody to bounce stuff off of at the time, but now I do. So I encourage you. It can be a little embarrassing. You're coming up with it. Listen, you're gonna be, rejected. You're gonna be embarrassed. You're gonna maybe even sometimes put your foot in your mouth. The thing is that you got to keep moving forward in this industry. You cannot expect it to come to you. You have to market yourself. And maybe the first time, it may not be that great, but they will hone you in on what you need to do to make your script better. Okay? And then that just makes the script better. That doesn't sell the script. I'll get to that later. So these are some things that you really need to really take in as a screenwriter. Let's see. Okay. Homeless. I finally landed this. I finally did this film. I got enough money to do this film that I thought it was called Success for the Four. It was a film that the Chronicle got some buzz, and it said that it was like Entourage. You know the HBO series Entourage? Well, it was Entourage, but it was for sexy Latina females. So I decided to write it. It was in English, but I decided to do it in Spanish. My writing's not that great in Spanish, but I hired very well-known or talented, not well-known at the time, actresses and actors to translate it into Spanish, to make it their own. So I shot the film. I did it. I mean, it came out. I thought it was really posh. It came out really good. It had some good acting and great locations. And the thing about it was that I developed a poster. I developed a trailer from it. I even got the Chronicle to write something on it. And I had a completed film. So I was going around to, I just happened to be going around to like film industry parties, and that's one of the things that you need to, sometimes I don't like to go to these things, but when you go to them, sometimes you'll meet that one person that you're supposed to meet. It all works out, and like I said, it's all about timing. I met this one person, and she was a producer, and she said, and I talked to her about it, and she says, well, I'm with CBS Telemundo. I'm with CBS Telemundo, so why don't you come and pitch it to us, and let's see if, see what happens. And I said, oh, okay, yeah, sure. So I was like, man, I got this down pat, no problem. I've got a poster, I've got a trailer, and I've got a completed film. So yeah, it's perfect. And so, but at the same time, I've got this project here. I'm already working on another project. You just can't stay stagnant. You've got to keep working on other projects. There's that mentality that you put all your eggs in that one basket. You can't do it in this industry. I mean, unless you're working, for a series, that's consistent all the way through. But see, I'm leading the ship here. I'm taking this to them. So I'm having to make sure that everything I do and say is on mark. I've got everything down pat. But 3 days before that meeting, I've been researching this paranormal type thing on Spanish television. There was nothing on it. I looked for 2 months, Spanish television at night. All the channels. There was nothing that compared to Ghost Hunters International or the Dead Files or anything like this. So what I did was I sat down and wrote a 2-page synopsis, a treatment plan about, this is how I see it. I'm going to get 3 sexy Latina females. They investigate the paranormal, urban legends, and hauntings, and they do it all in high heels. It's great for Spanish TV. If you've ever watched Spanish TV, that's what you're going to see. The game shows. It's crazy. So I developed that, and then I got locations, and I called it The Other Side. I called it El Otro Lado. So I went ahead and I thought that'd be a good name for it. So sure enough, it turned out that the 3 days before the meeting, I sat at the meeting, I'm there, I'm dressed really nice. Presenting yourself in a good manner is part of this key thing, that you're confident, that you've got your project down pat. Now, I want to share this little sidebar note, okay? When y'all are screenwriters, and how many of y'all have completed scripts right now? Are finished, okay? There's 1, 2, 3 people. One of the key things about your script is to have it down, tell me about it in 2 paragraphs, no more than 3. That's the key thing here. You've got to sit down and you've got to have a 3 sentences, I'm sorry, not paragraphs, 3 sentences to explain to me what this is. Because anything longer than that, or if you kind of like say, well, it's kind of like this, I've got this, guy that's coming out and he's he grows weed and he goes do this and then hold on a second. They're not going to get. They're going to say they're going to sit there and listen and they're going to say, you know what? Thank you very much. Well, we appreciate you coming in. We'll get back to you. You got to know this stuff, pat. You got to get it down, pat. Your 3-sentence paragraph. Tell me in 3 sentences what it is. Well, I sat down. I was feeling so great. And I sat down with them, and they said, this is Francois Larosa, he's a filmmaker here. He's got a project that wants to pitch for us. And I said, yes, hi, and I said, here's the poster of the film. Beautiful, beautiful actresses. Great poster. I know it's me saying that. I hate to say that. But the thing is that I showed them the trailer. The trailer was a home run. I mean, it was great. Then I had the completed film, and then there was 3 producers, and when you're sitting down with these type of meetings, they're very poker face. They don't really have an expression. I don't know if they practice that at home, or that's part of the criteria of being a producer for TV or film. But they just, were just sitting there staring at me. And then this is what they said. They said, do you have anything else? I was like in shock. I was like, oh, that's not good. That's not good. That means that they're not interested. So I stood there for a second, and I got my bottle of water, and I said, you know what? I happen to have a 2-page treatment plan right here. I said, I don't have a promo. I don't have a poster. And I said, but this is what I'm planning on shooting here, this next project. And I shared with them what the project was, El Otro Lado, the other side, about those sexy Latina females investigating paranormal in high heels. And one of the guys stood up and he says, oh my gosh, there's nothing like that on TV. And I said, and they says, yeah, that's great. You could see the changes in their demeanor, in their face. Their body language changed. And they said, we are so interested in this. Can you have a promo ready for us for TV in a week? And then they said, we can shoot the episode. Can you get the first episode to me in 2 months? And I'm like, I don't have a crew at that time. I didn't, I had people that I knew that were scattered. I didn't have, I didn't have a cast. I didn't have anything on this project. So what do you say in that? What do you say when you're sitting down and those guys give you the green light to do it? What do you say? Let me hear it.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I can do it. Oh yeah, sure, no problem. So they were shaking my hand, and I said, I'll get back to you, get that promo to you. I walked out and I said, oh my gosh, what am I going to do, man? What am I going to do? Oh my gosh, I was like, oh. So right away, I got together. I called some of my crew members. I started putting a casting call for sexy Latina females, and never put that casting call out like that. Don't ever do that. It's better to go to a casting agency and tell them what you're looking for. And I went through 47 Latina females and sitting down, and I was going through them and looking at their resume and checking out their headshots. And so I went through everything, and then I finally found the 3 that I wanted. There was one that I really wanted really bad, and I got her. And so she was so happy to be doing this and working for me. So we shot the series, we did the promo, and CBS Telemundo, it was a big success for them that they asked me to do a 2nd season. So the thing is that it gets into a little bit more when you're directing. The thing about this industry is you have to be very creative and at the same time be a good business person in order to make a profit in this industry. Otherwise, you'll be doing stuff for free forever. Oh yeah, he'll do it for pennies on the dollar, or he'll do it free. So the thing is that I valued my time, I valued my creativity, and that I just believed that this is what my self-worth was, So sure enough, the 1st season I did great, made some great money. I don't talk about money, but I did good. And then they asked me to do a 2nd season. So I did a 2nd season. So with that, I think what key thing that I heard today was momentum builds momentum. And that's a true statement, because now things are going great. So I went ahead and did they came back and they wanted my first film that I had brought them. Even though it was a late time slot, I got paid for that as well too. So that first project, now I had favor with them. So they got my first project that I did, and so everything went very, very good with that. So then they asked me if I had anything else, and I said, as a matter of fact, I do. I'm coming out with something here this year. You know, they came back to me recently, and so I shot a film called The More of Want, which in Spanish it's Interés Más Tango, and you know that means you just don't get enough. You know, we just don't get enough. We always have to have more, or somebody else, or you know, that's the thing. And so I shot this film. I did it. I think my shooting has gotten a lot better as you go through. TV is very fast. TV is very fast. Films, you take your time with it. You can take your time with it. But I shot this. You know, now I can shoot a pilot in, you know, maybe less than 3 days. You know, 3 days. I can rock it. I can knock it out. You know, 3 days. That's, you know, the time slots are 30 minutes. So, you know, I can shoot it in 3, you know, and that doesn't include the editing though, but I can pretty much knock it out of the park. So what I did was I put that together. I showed the producers that they loved it. They just wanted 10 more minutes added to it. So, but then they also said, hey, have you ever thought about doing a featured film from it? And I said, no. I said, but I'm gonna entertain it. And so it's like this is one I just did at the beginning of the year. It's like a female Dexter, Latina female Dexter, who's in forensics. She's the secretary, and the people gather around, and she knows, you know, everything about forensics, and she's just a brain in this area. And something happens, and something happens, and somebody dies. I don't do anything else. So I make a living out of it, but you got to be a businesswoman or businessman to make a profit in this industry. Or you can work for a studio. You know, you can work for the studio. I mean, there's nothing wrong with working for a studio, or I think somebody mentioned a farming animation type stuff. You know, you can do that. But if you're if you're willing to step forward and just, you know, go forward on this thing on your own, be ready for battles, because there's nothing that's. I have yet to say, oh, yeah, we'll give you the money, no problem, no problem. Well, you want that time slot? Sure, no problem. You know, yeah, oh, yeah, we love your filming. It doesn't work that way. That's just an illusion. Because it is, I'm not trying to discourage you. I'm just letting you know, this is the business of filmmaking. You know, this is screenwriting and directing, you know, so, but producing as well, too. Because, you know, the interesting thing about screenwriting and directing, what I do, is that, you know, this is something that you've seen it come to fruition from nothing to the screenwriting, then from there to the finished product, and then from there, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do? Who are you going to send it to? That's where everybody asks that question. Where do you go? I mean, who do you talk to? Well, that's the thing, is that you've got to meet people. I think this is a good opportunity to sit down and talk to some of the producers, some of the people that have been through it. You know, for me, I wanted to know. I didn't want to just get information. I wanted to know who to talk to. I could pick up a phone and talk to somebody, or I can stand face to face. And the thing is that it doesn't always work out that way. I think you have to make some calls to, you know, if you've got a concept for a TV show, you know, the majority of time, if you're writing and you call it a TV, you know, if you call like ABC and say, hey, I got a great concept, here's my screenplay for it, and then they're just going to put it in a box. You know, they're just, so what you need to do is talk to producers that are there at and the TV station that you want to. If you're planning on going into TV, you talk to the producers that are there, ask them questions on how to get your stuff seen. Let's see. Talk to them about what genre they're looking for. My genre right now is that I make majority of money is a horror, psychological thrillers, and paranormal. That's my area. I just finished. I got outsourced by this, like I said, this LA company to do their first featured film. They worked animation For 10 years, they got tired of it, not getting credit, so they are starting their own company here in Austin, Texas. I was one of the directors, I wanted 3, and then they wanted me. Because I just got through doing a trailer for the Stephen King novel, The Graveyard Shift. They saw that one, and they loved it. I'm working on that for next year. They saw it, and they loved it. So they sought me out. I worked with their script. So I'm a co-writer. Then we went ahead and did production on it, shot it all here. And then now it's in CGI. It's in Hyderabad, India. So I'm Skyping with them to their Indian team with a translator next to me, making sure all my monsters move. The thing about CGI and compositors is that they don't always create the monsters. They just make the objects move. That's all. So in my mind, this is the first time I had to create these visionary monsters, and it's amazing what comes out of our mind. It's wild, but that's what's going on now. So with that said, I went from homeless to doing my feature film that I did in 2009, and it just sold 2015. So to the HBO Brazil and Portugal HBO department. So with that said, I'm giving you a bunch of information. I'm trying to give you some meat on the plate, because I don't want you to leave here saying, well, yeah, he was a good speaker, he talked a lot about himself. I want you to leave with something that you can use, okay? So listen, I'm gonna, let me see what time it is. It's 3. I'm gonna leave it open to some discussion, of questions that you wanna ask me. Listen, there were some distributors out there that, those are the guys that, you make a film, those are the guys that sell your film. I wanted to go up there and ask them questions, because distributors, you don't always get that opportunity. You've got Nicole that's out there, you've got Arts and Labors. Back in the day, I was telling Kevin, I went over there and I talked with them. They were interested in buying one of my films, but they didn't. But I don't know if they do that anymore. So, distributors are the key things in making money in this business. So if you're a screenwriter, you got to find a good, the thing about screenwriters is sometimes you're waiting on this forever. That sometimes you just got to say, you know what, I'm going to be a filmmaker. I'm going to make this myself, or make a trailer. So that's one of the things that I want to share with you today, because I know so many screenwriters. I talked to Richard Linklater, and I talked to him about screenwriting, and he said, this is a tough business being a screenwriter. It's tough. And he's, of course now he's established, but and he has his own company, and then he sells it. That's what I'm doing. I'm following his format, is that I make it and then I sell my film. So you don't have to go that route, but I'm just letting you know that sometimes if you're a screenwriter, it's good to know people that are camera savvy, or wanting to be directors, and then maybe doing a sample of your screenplay, doing a trailer. You've written the script, now try to break it down to a 2-minute trailer, because that's what producers see in LA. You sit down with them, they only want to see 2 minutes of your trailer. They don't want to see anything else. If you do 5 minutes, they're going to say, well, we've seen enough. We don't want to see them. 2 minutes is all you have for a trailer. So that's something to think about. That's another avenue, okay? Anybody have any questions? Tell me, yes.
Okay, so you were talking about you pitching these shows. So I was just wondering what role you play in the shows after they've been pitched. So are you writing for the shows, or did you just sell the concept?
Well, that's a good question. Is that I did the first, I pitched to the producers of CBS Telemundo my concept, and I didn't have anything. I had a complete film. They didn't like it at the time. It's not that they didn't like it. It's just a timing type thing, that they just weren't looking for that right now. But when I mentioned that, they liked it. So after I did the first promos for them of what it was going to look like, and they approved it, then I did the episode. And then after I had to write that all out. I spent hours. It was a great thing to have, but then to get the work in it, I was living in my office, on my computer, just day in, day out, trying to find locations in Texas. Then I had to go to the locations, lock them down, and then from there, write the history of that location, and then go ahead. So when I gave them the script, it made it look like they did all the research, that they were the ones who did it. But in reality, I did it all. So they just read the script, and they looked like they were with the tools. I showed them how to use the ghost hunting tools and the whole thing to make it look. And it was it was kind of funny actually.
Wait, those shows are fake?
Well, yeah. I'm so sorry, so sorry.
So
Well,
then-
yeah,
So after that initial episode, like,
yeah.
and the show continued.
Yeah, I had to write a second
writing.
script. I had to continue to another location. As soon as I was through with that, we were editing, I was already going to another location in Texas. And then, so from that, I had to do the same thing over and over 6 times. So I sold 6 episodes. And the numbers were great. These guys, it's an interesting thing. They look at it, they like the concept because it's new, but they might not even watch it. You know what they're looking at? They're looking at the numbers of viewers they have coming into that fits that time slot. They're looking at that because that's money from sponsors and people for commercials. That's money that they make. So it's kind of a different. It opened my eyes to the business side of TV and how quick TV is. So as soon as you're through doing one episode and you film that and it's done, you're already working on the next one. So, and why it's in the editing. So, that's how I did it. I just continually write. Any other questions? Yes.
Were they putting the money up for this? Or
Yes,
were you
yes. The
drain your bank
the
account?
first one I had to put the money up for, because they want to see what it looks like. But then after that, they gave me money to make it.
And hire a crew?
No, I had my crew.
No, you already had.
I had everything. They just paid me. That's the thing about this is that I make everybody sign contracts. I pay everybody for the day cost, and then I get a whole other check, and then it just I keep that. So that's how I do it. I pay everybody for the shoot day, whether it's 2 days, 3 days, and then they sign the contracts, and then the studio sends me the check, and then I keep that.
So before you get to the point where you can meet with these producers, really you need to have, just pitches and ideas that you get out to people to get your name around there, right?
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah. I went to Sin Los Americanos Film Festival, and I met a guy that was with PBS. He was the guy that sees content for PBS. And I talked to him about a docu project that I had in mind. And he thought it was great. He thought it was good. What would have happened if I had it completed and I had it there to say, hey, well, let's meet next week. I'll show you what it looks like. We probably would have the deal would have been done. I really believed it. I did end up shooting it. I didn't like how it came out. I didn't like the CGI stuff on it. There was some, it was the first Iraq War, and somebody that I was doing research on. Listen to this. These are new things that you gotta twist your thinking into something that's not been done before. A lot of stories have been done before. It's under a different mask. You're just putting a different mask on it. It's the same thing. A lot of horror slasher stuff. And the thing is when you come up with something new, they love it. I think I was pitching it to them right there while we were drinking. I was drinking my bourbon, and I said, "This is a story, a true story of a veteran that came back from the war who won a bronze star, but he ended up losing his bronze star. They asked for it back, his bronze medal for bravery. He lost his bonus money, and they dishonorably discharged him. And then he says, well, oh my gosh, what happened? I said, well, this guy went into the service, and not any service, he went into the U.S. Marines, which is hardcore. And then from there, he was made, he had a fiance. He was from Mexico. His family was from Mexico. They moved here. He was born here. And then he had a beautiful fiance, and then he ended up going into the Marines because he felt like that was a future for him and his family. So he joins the Marines. He's made team leader. And the mantra of the Marines is first one's in, last one's out. Okay, so then they made him a leader, squad leader for everybody else. But he made 4 good friends that they were really tight. And their mantra was, we go in together, we come out together. So the war breaks out in '92 in Iraq, and what happens? They're in a skirmish where they're like almost surrounded, and they're shooting everybody in that skirmish. A Black Hawk helicopter comes, lands down. They get in. They all jump in, and they make it out, and then they're flying out, and the Black Hawk is shooting down. And they look at each other, and they kind of chuckle that we made it out of that. That was a miracle. Well, what happens? The Black Hawk helicopter has mechanical problems, and it has to go back down again. But it lands down in a different area that's even worse than what they left. So they had to jump out. They made them jump out. They're coming to get another Black Hawk for them, and they're running out of ammunition. So the other helicopter comes, shoots the enemy, lands, and then he says, okay, let's go, let's go. He turns around, and when he turns around, there's this big boulder. He turns around, an RPG comes and hits and kills all of his friends. So he's in shock. They have to pull him in the helicopter. They fly him out. And then he comes back to the States, and he gives a letter to his CO, and then he comes back to his family. The first thing he does is he goes to his fiancée, and he breaks up with her. And then he goes to his parents' house, and his dad's saying, I'm so proud of you, son. I'm so, now you've got a future. And he's like numb. He just listens to his dad. And then his sister comes over and his best friend. And then they find this letter that says, you've been dishonorably discharged. We want your medal back and your bonus money. And so they're in shock. He's a war veteran. They're doing this. They think it's a Hispanic thing. They think this is cultural. We're going to call it Catholic Church, Zip the Catholic Church. And so, and the next thing you know it is that he goes upstairs and he commits suicide. He shoots himself in the head with the other letter that he had. And the other letter they found, and it says, you've been dishonorably discharged because of your homosexuality. This was in '92, before Obama passed a law that don't ask, don't tell. So this is what I came up with, and I changed it a little bit, and he just thought that this was awesome. So I shot it. It came out good. I didn't like the CGI stuff. I'm going to redo that for this next year. That's just a docu. So it's something that's new, that hasn't been, you've not seen it, and it hits you emotionally. So that's what you need to go for, and when you're writing your script. Is go to the heart, man. Heart is where it's going to it's going to connect with people.
Heart is where it hurts.
It's heart is where it hurts. Heart is where it hurts. Any other questions? Anything else? Yes. Anything?
When did you graduate from Tech?
I went there for psychology. I finished in psych. I went there and I finished up in '92.
92?
Yeah, and then I moved here. I think '94 is when I moved back over here. It's a great school, city. Wow.
Yeah. 85.
Yeah. Okay, good. Well, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, and I love it. I love the college. Yeah, it rocks. It's great.
So, me being in high school, that
Yes.
only applies to a limited amount of people in here. But, the ideas are there. I have ideas all the time.
Sure.
I avidly read books, and I enjoy
Right.
writing as well. What do I do after I have that? I have the idea. Do I write a screenplay for it? Do I just write a short story with it and just get it out there? What do I...
From where you're at, I'll be honest with you. Anything is impossible in this industry. It's a tough industry, but it's possible. I would start off with a short film. I'd start off maybe with a short film or a trailer. Your concepts of what you're thinking of how it's going to look. And if you do like a short film, you condense it small, like just write it out. And then once you get through writing it out, see it. When you visualize it, do a little storyboard on it. Just how you see the story overlaps. Like I'm shooting a film tomorrow from like 11 in the morning till 11 at night in San Antonio. I didn't want to do this film. It's a trailer. I didn't want to do it. They asked me, and I finally gave in. The thing was is that I made him do a storyboard, so that way when I'm out there, I don't have to be fiddle-faddle and just looking through the script. I wanted to see his vision. I said, I don't care if you're going to do stick man. I want to be with my coffee, looking at the script, knowing exactly. Oh, I've already read the script. He didn't know it several times, so I've got it down here. But the storyboard is there, and he says, "Oh, forgive my drawings." I said, "No, this helps me so much. This helps me so much because it shows his vision of what he was thinking, and also when I'm there, I know what I need to do as a director. I'm co-producing this, but just the trailer, but I'm also directing this. So, and he wanted me specifically, him and some other people, and I was very honored by that. I'm very touched by that, and these are filmmakers in their own right. But to look up to me to do that, I was very honored by that. So I told him, yeah, I would do it. But that's what I would do. I'd start off with we all have concepts. We just need to put it on paper. So once you put it on paper, draw a little storyboard, and then from there, maybe you meet a guy that has a camera, and maybe you can kind of, do something like that with it. Or either get with somebody that because you're still in high school. That's a great. I wish I knew what I knew now. That's the old saying, isn't it? I wish I knew what I knew now when I was younger, but it was supposed to happen this way for me. That's just the way life is. It's supposed to happen. The timing, and this is all about timing. And like I said, in this field, there's a lot of rejection, so don't take it personal. It's just not what they're looking for right now. But yeah, I would do something like that. Your concept, to put it on paper, do the dialogue. How do you see the characters? Bantering back and forth. How does the scene open? Is he lying in bed, or when the scene opens? Just think of these things and start writing it down. Just do your notes. Do your external as outside, internal as inside. Just start by that. Yes.
The film I'm doing, actually for my school project, we're filming it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And how it started was it's actually my English narrative paper.
Yeah.
And is it okay if we you write the story first and then turn it into a script, which is what I did?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Oh, yeah. Listen, whatever method works for you is the best for you. It's not going to be everybody's. It's not cookie cutter. If you read the Screenwriter's Bible, it will show you the format. But it's a resource. I use it as a resource. But if you take it to a Screen Actors Guild, they're gonna, and then they'll give it back to you. But that's just going to help you to kind of, cut out what you don't need and stuff. Let me just share with you. In high school, in 2009, my daughter was part of this Conley, Pflugerville type of production of doing a short film and a webisode. I went to that with her because I'm in film and she wanted me to come, so I sat down and I saw these four people talk about, they were talking about Cannes Film Festival or entering their short film in the Cannes Film Festival. And I thought, this is interesting. The Cannes Film Festival is like the Super Bowl of filmmakers. So I was just thought, oh, this is interesting. And wouldn't you know it, they were the first high school that had their film submitted and received in the Cannes Film Festival Short Film Contest. And so I hired those two of the guys from that production. Well, one's my DP, and I've known him that long. And then the other one is gone on to make good films in Mexico. And but I still have that DP, and I met him while I was watching, because when their film went to Cannes, I hired him. I thought, this guy's a visionary. I'm taking him. So the key thing here is, what are you going to do with that film? What are you doing? Okay, you're making
Going
it.
into a UIL
Okay.
Yeah, we're
contest.
entering them in the UIL contest.
Okay, the UIL contest. Okay, well that's good. That's a good start, and then take it to the next limit. Go to the next limit.
I got a producer's number.
Okay.
She said to send it to her whenever it's finished.
Yeah, good, do it. Or you could do it. But, I'm just letting you know. You can take control of that. A producer's going to look at it, and if they like it, they're going, okay, I'll enter it. It'll be under my company's name. And
So you can either send a finished product or just a screenplay to a producer?
Most producers that are on TV won't accept scripts. They won't give you a time of day. You have to have it completed, there's a resource place that I broker scripts. Now, you have to forgive me. I am a businessman, and my area is horror, psychological thrillers, and paranormal. So if somebody's got a script and they want me to see it, I can broker that for them. That means that I make money off your script to an LA company that for 1 year, and I've had one sold. I've entered 3 scripts because I get 5 scripts per month that people come to me and talk to me about. We'll sit down, we'll have coffee, we'll chat, we'll talk about this script, we'll see what it's like. If I think it's got some merit, if I think some things need to be changed, I'll share it with them. And then I'll say, what do you want me to do with this? Do you want, I could broker this, send it to my contacts in LA, and then see for a year if it bites. If it bites, we make good money. They give us 1 check. If it doesn't bite, well, we tried. Maybe you just need to tweak it out a little bit more. So that's one of the things that I do. And I'm being straightforward with you because this is all that I do. Yes.
Alright, say that me and my friends get together, make a feature film.
Right.
And we know what we're doing, we can make it looks good, it's a good movie, don't know anything about any kind of paperwork, how to send it to somebody, what contracts to sign or anything.
Okay, the key thing here, you and your buddies all need to develop a contract. They ought, because listen, when I sign off, when I did this last film from LA, I had to sign the craft service person. They had to sign off on this film. Everybody had to sign. In fact, they even changed the name to Agora, which is a true demonic religion in India, to Garusta, because that Agora was trademarked, and they didn't want to pay that cost, so we had to change. So start now by developing. You can download it. Listen, the internet's got all these contracts, and start with one of those. Sign off. Put your company. If your guys form a company, put the company's name and whoever acted in it. Break it down. And then after you're through with that, what are you going to do with that film?
Press sell it.
Okay. One of the key things is, I don't do film festivals anymore, but one of the things about film festivals that are without a box, they mention it there, and they look for certain genre. So look, if you've got a horror film, put it in a genre. If you put it in an inspirational, Christian film, they're going to say, hey, buddy, thanks, but no thanks. So look at the genre that you're entering in, and then send it. And see if it gets accepted. If it gets accepted, that's a great thing. So then you can go to that, promote it, to have people come see it. And then you never know when a producer will see it and say, hey, have y'all had this distributed? You can say, while you're there, you can talk about you're looking for distribution on it. So that's another avenue to think about when it comes to after you do something like that. To try to sell it, it's a little tough. It's a little tough. It can be done, but you have to have somebody that has the knowledge to do it. But go forward on it, man. Rock it. Do it. So y'all got it all down, huh? Well, I hope I didn't take too much of your time, and I hope I gave you some meat on the plate, because I always want to come to these festivals with something that I can take home and use. Okay? Because the panels are great, they're really good, they're very informative. It's good resources, and it shows you the industry. But for me, being in the trenches and this is doing what I'm doing, I just want you to get the real deal of what this industry is like, and that there's all possibilities, there's all avenues. You just got to connect with the right person. All right, thank you. Appreciate it.